I'm Mia. I'm a senior here with the Shimer College, or just Shimer in general. I'm double majoring in Shimer Humanities as well as psychology, and that's with North Central. And then, yeah, and I'm from the area, so from Illinois. And you?
Where am I from?
Just name.
Where am I from?
Yeah.
I was born in Detroit, okay, and grew up there and in the suburbs of Detroit, and now I live in New Orleans. I've lived in New Orleans for 48 years.
Oh, nice.
I'm retired from Tulane University, where I taught for 43 years.
Oh, nice.
Before that, I taught at University of Wisconsin at Green Bay for 5 years. Before that, I went to University of Iowa for the creative writing program. Before that, I went to the program in general studies and the humanities at University of Chicago. And before that, I went to Shimer College.
Nice.
Where I was born there at Shimer College, not just that was the beginning of my education, Shimer College.
Cool. Nice. And then, I guess just to start, how was your experience at Shimer College? What was it like?
Well, what I was telling people last night, I mean, looking back on the experience from the standpoint of someone 18 years old, I liked the fact that I had gone to a boys' prep school and I had to wear a coat and tie. I liked the fact that I didn't have to wear a coat and tie, and that the teachers were not authoritarian as they were at the boys' school. At the boys' school, when the master, we called the teachers masters, came into the room, you had to stand up, and you stood up until they told you to sit down. And then if another master came in the room just to gossip with the master or whatever, you had to stand up while that master was in the room too. So when I got to Shimer and I had the discussion class and someone asked me what I thought, I was amazed that someone was interested in what I thought about anything. Okay.
Nice. So.
And I like the fact that I didn't have to wear a coat and tie.
That is a good plus. We don't have a dress code here
That's right,
that I'm aware of.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did your experience at Shimer shape your subsequent career path?
Well, I think it was fundamental. I certainly never had any idea of wanting to be a teacher after the boys' school like that. I had no idea what I would be, but certainly not teaching. That was out of the question. I mean, again, so I was young, I had no idea. I think I thought I'd be a foreign correspondent or something. I had no idea. I certainly did not want to be. My dad was an insurance executive, and in a strange atmosphere in which I grew up in Detroit, everyone worked for an automobile company in one way or another. It was only later in life when I brought some young women home to visit Detroit, I didn't realize then how strange it was. The woman I married, who was also a Shimer graduate, said, "This is the strangest place. Everything revolves around a car," and it did. But to circle back, I thought that the teachers at Shimer were truly interested in the students and truly involved with the subject matter, and that encouraged me to want to go into teaching, and then they encouraged me in that direction also. So that's what I did. What I was most interested in was the discussion method, the Socratic dialogue, or I would call it the conversation class, a class where everyone was encouraged to speak. And that's what I tried to do in my teaching always, and carried with me. And I found that many people, when I became a young professor, I found that many people had not had that kind of undergraduate experience at all. And they thought that teaching involved just telling the students what to think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
They knew, I know, and you don't, okay?
Yep.
When I won several teaching awards at Tulane, and then one of the ceremonies I had for receiving this very little money involved, but some money involved for the teaching award. I quoted this old professor. I was 34 when I went there. He said, "Put them in their seats and stuff it down their throats." That was his idea of teaching. Okay.
Oh boy.
Okay. And another old professor said to me, "Why bother to ask them what they think? I want them to know what I think."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was not that way at Shimer. So.
Nice. And then, can I ask, what did you teach throughout your career?
The main thing I thought was creative writing. That was the main thing.
Nice.
That was the main thing I taught. I also taught literature. composition, of course, when I started out. Composition at 7:30 in the morning. I was given other teaching assignments as a teaching assistant. Literature for engineers. They weren't very interested in engineering. I mean, they were interested in engineering. They weren't very interested in literature. So
Yeah.
I taught in a prison. I taught in a mental hospital. Well, those were creative writing classes.
Yeah.
Those classes. So the main thing I taught was creative writing, and the main thing I taught was poetry, because that's what I write and publish.
Nice. And then how did your students react to, because you said you tried to shape your classes more like discussion based.
Exactly.
How did your students react to that?
They liked that because, and they hadn't had that opportunity in a lot of other classes.
Yep.
They liked that. No, they were very responsive to that, I felt. I thought they were very responsive to it.
Nice. And do you feel like that benefited their writing then?
Oh, certainly, yes. To empower them, certainly. Well, in writing, in creative writing, you're trying to get the students to express his or her own feelings and ideas, right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, there's a whole stuff that's come in with AI and writing and so on. And if I were still teaching, I would say to the student, why would you want to use AI? This class is about you. This is about you and what you think, what you feel. So you don't want to do AI. No, the students like that. They were in the class for egocentric reasons. So, so of course they were interested in expressing their own opinions. Yeah.
Do you think that, I find it interesting you brought up the topic of the AI, because I know a lot of students on this campus will use AI for various reasons, and I think one of the biggest reasons people will use AI is for topic generation, just thinking of a topic. And during my last interview, we were talking about how Shimer is really good at getting people to think of the right questions.
Yes.
And to think of ideas.
Yeah.
Would you say that then having this more discussion-based class and or like discussion around like what you're writing maybe would help a student then be able to generate their own ideas?
Oh, of course,
yeah.
exactly. I don't understand why you would need AI to generate topics. Why can't you come up with that yourself? Why would you? I suppose there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, if you look through a magazine to generate topics, but I don't know. I really don't. I don't know enough about the evils of AI to have much to say finally.
Yeah.
It came in, right? See, I retired 6 years ago, so that it came in just a few years after that, so, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do know that the people I know who are still teaching are very concerned about it.
Yeah.
And one of my friends who is still teaching at Tulane was very concerned that his students were AIing, to make it into a verb, their way through classes and through exams. So he is now, in a graduate seminar, he's having all the papers written in class, like high school, okay?
Oh,
okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he tours the room watching everybody while they're writing the papers, so, to see what they're doing. I guess I would do, actually, that was my idea that he do that, so he's doing it. It was my idea. It was my idea, so I don't know. Using AI to generate topics, that doesn't seem to me a bad thing, okay. But as I said, looking at it from the standpoint of wanting to do your own writing, don't you want your writing to be about you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So in addition to like generation of topics and questions, and also just feeling like you have a voice in the classroom.
Yes.
What are some other benefits, skills, or just things that you really value about the Shimer education?
Well, in the advanced classes in literature and the humanities, professors would let us come up with our own books and for presentations,
nice.
and have us teach the class. Okay, in a beginning class. This was again. I was amazed when I first got to Shimer. In a beginning class, the teacher was having the students, in beginning humanities class, was having the students teach the class lead the discussion.
Yeah.
Right? Lead the discussion. How badly, frequently, badly from the very beginning, and then he would take over. But just to have the students start the class and formulate the questions again, and that would not be done by most people. again, I found that I found that there were professors at Tulane who would have a class of 4 or 5 people and would all lecture. They would walk in with their notes for the 4 or 5 student class and just sit there and talk for 3 hours, and the students would write it down.
Yeah.
And then they would have an exam on it later. And they didn't think there was anything strange about that. I thought it was appalling. I thought it was completely appalling. And one of the most appalling examples of this guy, so a student said, and he never learned our names.
Interesting.
There were 5 students in the class. He never learned our names. He didn't. It's not a matter of calling on us. No one spoke during the class except the professor asked of those, and no one spoke during the class except. But he never learned our names the whole semester.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's so crazy to me. I mean, North Central College is a small school, and Shimer was also very small.
Yes.
So there was definitely more, student-professor engagement. But even the thought of having 5 students in your class and not learning their names.
Exactly.
Is
Yeah.
crazy.
He was bad. He was really bad news. He was really bad news.
Yeah.
He was really. I mean, there are a lot of good teachers at Wisconsin and Green Bay where I taught. A lot of very good teachers at Tulane. So I'm speaking of the worst examples, and there are certainly a lot of people whose classes I visited at Tulane too, because as I was promoted, I got tenure and so on. Then you would visit the classes of younger professors, and no one was ever given tenure then without class visitations, certainly, and a report on the teaching. And some really good people, and who did teach by the Socratic method. I mean, other people, and certainly who had not gone to Shimer, they'd gone elsewhere.
Yeah.
But I'm citing the most egregious examples of those other people.
What do you think is because I mean, we're talking about it as if it's very valuable to ask what other people think. Could you maybe elaborate on like what you feel personally that value is in getting the opinions of just not only, obviously the professor, but the students' opinions?
Well, I mean, it's about other people, isn't it? Isn't life about other people? I don't know. I mean, what is life about machines? Isn't it about people? So of course I would. I quoted it. I mentioned this at the awards ceremony and so on. I would say to my students at the beginning, I want everyone talking during this class. There's no such thing as a stupid comment.
Yeah.
But there was such a thing as a stupid comment. Well, I haven't read the material, but I thought I'd say something because you said we should. Okay, that's at the bottom, right? I didn't bother to read the book, but I thought I'd say something. You said I should talk. I didn't ask for that.
Yeah.
But isn't it? It's about other people.
Yeah. I just ask because I think traditionally people do view college as you're getting lectured at. The professor knows everything, you know nothing, and that's I think our current understanding of what college is, and a lot of people have that understanding of what it should be.
Really?
So, I mean, at least within the people that I talk to.
Well, I just want to have one correction of that, because my friend, who's still teaching, he's giving the exams in class, and now because of AI, he is a medievalist. Okay, the lecture system developed in the medieval university because the professor the students would come in and stand in a square. Okay. And the professor would stand. They weren't even any notebook. There weren't any books. He, and it was a he, would talk to them, and they would write that down because there were no books, there were no classroom. There was a square with this person standing there. That's the basis of the lecture system. And why when information merely is being purveyed, I don't understand the basis for the lecture system in any way whatsoever. I really don't. Now, I studied art history at the University of Chicago too. Okay, that was he was one of my favorite professors, Professor Taylor. In the beginning classes, you have to have the lecture because you have the slides, and you can't ask an 18-year-old in the dark, what do you think of this Monet painting? But he would show us how to look at it. That
Yeah.
was a lecture class. That makes sense, doesn't it? That certainly makes sense, certainly. I mean, and I'm thinking of other language classes where you're learning to speak French. You have to hear French.
Yeah.
You can't. I can't ask you if you don't know French how to speak French, right?
Yeah.
No, it's certainly for certain kinds of information, it's very, very valuable. Definitely valuable. But it's not just now that this has developed. This was going on when I was in school in the 1960s. But the basis of it is that medieval university. That's what my friend taught me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, some people that I've met are here to
What are they here for?
get a degree and to go use that degree and to be lectured at. And some people I know just don't want to get to know people in the same way.
What are they here for? What are they doing?
Beats me. I know some people who are just very motivated by monetary value, monetary gain. For example.
Maybe that's fine. There's nothing wrong with money. We have this strange idea now that the college degree is going to produce a marketable skill and get you a job.
Yeah.
When Terry and I, who was at Shimer with me,
Yeah.
we're talking about our ancestors and our relatives and so on. My grandfather, who was a farm boy in Michigan, he went to Alma College. It's some religious affiliation, which not appeals to me. Right. He became a farmer, and then he owned a hardware store combined with a funeral parlor in a small town in Michigan. He majored in philosophy in order to be a farmer. Okay, but there were no one in those days questioned the fact that we would have a philosophy major and you'd run a hardware store and funeral parlor. That's just how it was, okay?
Yeah.
You didn't have to major in hardware store management or something like that. But we've got this strange idea of connecting up the major and the job now, and it may or may not work. It may. And of course, if you want to be an engineer, you really should not major in French, right? That makes
Yeah,
sense.
that'd be a
I
little
understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but we have this other strange idea, and one of the things we tried to do, and when I was at Tulane, I put together this package that appeared online, what you could do with a creative writing concentration, and the students went to medical school, law school, publishing, social work, opened their own businesses, nursing. I don't know anybody who ran a hardware store, but they could have, right?
Yeah.
Business school. So we've got things kind of misconnected nowadays, I think.
Yeah. So do you feel like the purpose then of any education is just to learn something that you're interested in?
To free you up so you can teach yourself.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, to go on learning whatever happened to you there, to keep you an inquisitive person, so you become a lifelong student in some way.
Okay.
That's what I think. I think that's the purpose of it.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely.
And then how has your experience at Shimer shaped you personally as a lifelong learner or a student?
I think it just made me interested in a lot of different things. And I wasn't good at a lot of them, like the science courses and so on. I discovered that. In many ways, looking back, I didn't need to be. But it gave me also a respect for those people who could do these things far better than I. You know? Yeah. It made me more tolerant.
Yeah.
It made me more tolerant. In the best sense of the word.
Yeah. When you say it's made you more tolerant, how has that helped you, I guess, become, because you say it in a positive way, so how has that helped you become a better person?
Just open to, I mean, our culture is constantly changing, right? It's certainly changed remarkably within my lifetime, and frankly, for the better. It's just opened up to more possibilities for different kinds of people, and going to school and participating in education. You know? So to be open to other people. Yeah.
Nice. And what would you say to people who think that the purpose of college is only to just get a degree and then go into the job with that degree?
it's a misconception that there is a job awaiting you with that degree. That's the conception that people are operating on, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is not true, right? If you go to a culinary institute, for instance, they will train you to be a chef, and you can get up and be a chef, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In the engineering school, that would be true, or architecture school, but in the vast liberal arts, which most people are majoring in, there is not this direct connection with the job. And there never was. There never was. The idea that now we're in some polluted age at which a degree doesn't mean anything is ludicrous. It was ludicrous.
Yeah.
When I went to graduate school, but when I finished college in 1962, other people came out of college and were floundering around, having one interview after another, trying out this and trying out that. I have grandkids now who have just finished college, and they are in that kind of situation, right? Yeah. Okay. Working at things they don't like, trying to find out what they want to do or whom will hire them. But it was always it was that way 60 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that way 60 years ago. That's how most college education is.
There's like a worry in the liberal arts, at least as far as I was told, that they're dying. And by dying, I mean more people are picking STEM majors and going to trade school and stuff, and the liberal arts are kind of being left behind. What would you tell somebody who is interested in going to the liberal arts, but because there's so much pushback, they're hesitating? Like, what would be your selling point for...
First of all, I don't agree with the propositions you gave me, okay?
Which ones?
That the liberal arts are dying. I mean, there are fewer majors, let's say there are fewer English majors at Tulane, I could say that than before, okay? That doesn't, you see, we jump to these huge generalizations now. That means the liberal arts are dying? No, that's what's going on right now, okay? Yeah. Right, we think our historical moment is the most important moment in time. It isn't, okay? Yeah. That's what I said. You're only here for a little while. You're 21, okay? Maybe you're going to live to be 100, but but things are going to be changing during your lifetime.
Yeah.
So, I don't understand. Yes, the STEM majors are important, but they always were. I mean, we don't have a vision for the future that another generation didn't have. I think parents are appalled by all of the cost of education, and so they leap to these conclusions. You know, that's where a lot of this comes from. And what is not known to the general public is that the cost of private colleges is so immense, but that all these scholarships and discounts are available, right? Oh, yeah. Tulane costs something like $70,000, but for everything. But very few people are paying that.
Yeah.
The average discount is like 50%, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, very few people are paying that. Why can't the colleges make this known? The parents are naturally concerned about their own children.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about my grandchildren. I'm concerned about the fact that my grandson graduated magna cum laude from Clark University, wrote his honors thesis in transportation and so on, and he is working in this horrible coffee shop from 10 at night until 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, excuse me. That's the only job he could get right now, okay? I'm concerned about that. He has prospects for a very interesting job involving transportation that he's interested in, and it would be a permanent position if he got it, and he could live in New York where he wants to live and so on. But they told him the job will only be available like at the end of December. All right, right now he's working in this coffee shop. I'm concerned about that, but that's not going to be the end of it. Besides, he's 23.
Yeah. He's
not going to die over this. He's not going to die over this. There's too much talk about education and not enough reality.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I really appreciate your perspective, because these are the things that I'm hearing from
Your parents?
Honestly, my professors. Like, not all my professors, but certain professors I know in the English department here are worried about the low enrollment of English majors. Or I know that Shimer as a college keeps getting smaller and smaller, at least compared to historical numbers. And so...
Well, that's for many different reasons. There's
Yeah.
a whole history of that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So would you just say that then the reason we're so concerned about things are because we're only focusing on this period in time, but we're not looking at how it could play out in the long run because
That's
we
right.
don't know.
And look backward in order to look forward. Stop just looking at this particular moment.
Yeah.
Stop looking at this particular moment. Many people choose, make pragmatic decisions about a career and regret it greatly.
Yeah.
And are very unhappy with what they're doing.
I am double majoring in Shimer Humanities and Psychology. And I really want to continue with my psychology and get a PhD in some form of positive psychology, whether it's IO psychology, positive IO psychology, which is industrial organizational. So it'd be more like working with organizations to enhance their workplaces by, using different strategies, and or positive like personality theory. Because like you, I love people. Like I think that it is all about people, and I think that I really value getting to talk to people and knowing people. And at least in my own life, I have a lot of friends who have been through a lot of really hard things. And in psychology, oftentimes, at least the old idea was that as psychologists, we need to be the ones to get people from a really bad, mental place to like normal functioning. And what I believe is that not only should we help those people achieve normal functioning, but we should help them thrive. How do we help people become the best version of themselves? How do we make the world a better place one individual at a time? Because I think that's really what I want to do. I want to try to create a world that's more positive to live in, that's filled with people who are happy and are satisfied with their lives, and in turn spread that joy to other people. Yeah, so that's what I want to do long term, and I'm not sure what that's going to look like yet or exactly where I'll end up, but yeah, that's my goal.
Yeah, are there professors at Shimer or North Central who can help you to figure out how to do that? Or?
Yeah, I talked to Stuart a lot about what I want to do in the future, and he has been such a support. And honestly, all the
He's a very giving person.
Yeah, no, he's lovely. And there's also a lot of other Shimer faculty I've talked to about, like, even just like my interests in certain topics, and they'll recommend me books that they think I'd really like, and they're always amazing books. And they're just so supportive and stuff. So that's at Shimer, like, I have a really good support system. And then also within the psychology department at North Central College, there's one professor in particular, his name is Dr. Carl Kelly. And I'm where I am because I put in the work, but I wouldn't have known about the opportunities that are out there if it weren't for him. And he's the reason I actually majored in psychology, because on a tour my sophomore year of high school, I met him, and he was telling me about psychology, and I knew about the discipline, but I had never really considered it as a major. And so I decided in high school to take a psychology course because he, was talking about it, and I loved it. And so while I've been at North Central, he's been one of my, I will talk to him about anything, and he'll always give me feedback. And he's now suggesting graduate schools that he think I would like.
Like what? Where?
Most recent one was Claremont in California, because they have the second best positive IO psychology.
What is IO psychology? What's that?
IO psychology is industrial organizational psychology.
Okay.
Yeah, so its focuses on the industrial side is more job recruitment, job training, job placement, all that jazz. Where the organizational, which is what I'm more interested in, is all about how do we create healthy organizational structures? How do we ensure that whether it's a work group or a not-for-profit or even a sports team, how do we create a positive atmosphere that people actually want to be in?
One of the standard things that people got is being a caseworker in Chicago for a social welfare department. You could do that with a BA in anything, okay?
Yeah.
You have cases like this stacked on your desk that people are supposed to do. And see, Joy Ibsen, who was here, who graduated in my class, she won't remember this. She did this after graduation. Okay. She said she just would come home and cry every night until she went to sleep.
Oh boy.
Just here I am back in my apartment. All the crying can be.
Yeah.
She got out of it. She got out of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
The purpose of being young is to have all these expectations and disappointments too, you know.
Yeah. I feel like, at least me personally, a lot of people are really stressed about what they're going to do after college.
But they were 60 years ago when I graduated from college.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because most people, I would argue, turn out okay.
It's sure they do, exactly.
Yeah.
But it was that way then, right? Yeah, of course people are stressed. There's too much talk nowadays. There's just too much talk. And we're all living on social media, aren't we? We're all living on our phones. Here's mine.
Yeah, mine's over there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're all, and I'm going to send it, you know, my grandson is telling me about his horrible job and getting home at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the people are drunk there at 3 o'clock in the morning doing the coffee shop.
The coffee shop,
The
yeah.
coffee shop. And my granddaughter's talking to the men who are hitting on her at Trader Joe's and video. So, yeah, it will all work out. It will all work out. I've told you everything I know.